Okay.
That's all.
As long as they see that.
Yeah. With the eyes of the world resting on Dr. King's shoulders, he peered out to thousands on the Washington Mall. It was 1963, and our nation was in turmoil. This day, Dr. King gave his "I Have a Dream" speech and changed the world. It took a great amount of courage for Dr. King to be able to give this speech to everyone. He was able to say things that everyone else was too afraid to say. He had courage that day, and he showed courage until the day he died. Today, I want to recognize Martin Luther King Jr. and the courage that he had during the Civil Rights Movement. We may not be where we are today without his involvement. As civilians, we all want to have courage, but many of us are too scared. I think we can all learn from Dr. King and the example that he set for us. Through research, I've been able to discover multiple actions that Dr. King did to prove his courage. He made an impact on the nation and set a precedent for how the races should be treated. First, I want to discuss how he originally got involved in the Civil Rights Movement, and then how he used his courage to defend his people, and lastly, how his death had an impact on the nation. The fight for equality was a huge event that lasted many years, and it took many American figures like Martin Luther King Jr. to get involved in for it to be successful. MLK admired Gandhi and his peaceful protests, and after Rosa Parks was arrested on a bus, he decided enough was enough, and he decided to get involved in the Civil Rights Movement. He was then elected president of the Montgomery Improvement Association and was the leader behind the Montgomery bus boycotts. According to Stanford University's Montgomery bus boycott article, King and others worked to end segregation on the buses by getting all involved in the bus protesting, and he was able to get the community involved and boycott them. The city did not appreciate this, though, and they ended up charging Martin Luther King Jr. and fined him $500 and 386 days in jail. But the trial made national news, and the boycotts became even more publicized. After months, the U.S. Supreme Court finally passed the Browder v. Gale Act, which made segregation on the busing illegal. If it had not been for the courage of Martin Luther King Jr., segregation would probably not have ended. But due to his efforts in getting the community involved, he was able to stand up to the government. King showed courage by standing up, even when he knew he could get in trouble for what he was doing. He knew the dangers, but he still fought for his people. According to the 2018 March on Washington article, King was the leader behind the march, and he wanted to get the issue of inequality publicized even more. The morning of the march, John F. Kennedy called him into the White House to tell him that he did not want him to continue with the march, as he thought it would end in violence. Martin Luther King took what he said in respectfully, but basically said, "I have to do this for all these people," and he continued with the march that day. And that same day, he gave his "I Have a Dream" speech, which shook the nation. If it had not been for his courage, he would not have been able to stand up to the president, and therefore he would not have been able to give the most powerful speech in the American history. Courage is a great characteristic to have, but it can also lead to bad things happening to you. MLK stood up for people, but this left a big target on his back. He dedicated his life to the movement, but he also lost his life to the movement. According to the 2010 article, MLK Jr. Assassination, Martin Luther King traveled to Memphis, Tennessee to support the sanitation workers' strike. While he was there, he was on his balcony, probably getting ready for the next speech that he was going to present to get the nation on his back. He was minding his own business, and then all of a sudden he was shot that morning. They rushed him to the hospital, but he was pronounced dead about an hour after. This upset the nation a lot, and a lot of people were affected by this. And according to the 2013 Melissa Petruzzello article, in honor of King, the government decided to pass the Fair Housing Act, which protected individuals from discrimination in the housing market. Not only did Martin Luther King Jr. impact the world while he was living, but after his passing, he was still able to carry on that legacy. Overall, the courage of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is why he is still remembered today and honored today. By discussing King's courage during his initial involvement in the Civil Rights Movement, to the courage of his impactful speeches he had on the nation, I was able to tell you why he is remembered and honored today. Martin Luther King had a very vivid dream that everyone was created equal. And through his courage and determination, he was able to fulfill this dream.